All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. If people pop back in, I appreciate you. If you don't, I completely understand. I don't know what the hell just happened. My computer froze. I bought a new keyboard. Lesson learned. It won't let me sync it to the computer to log back in after I have to restart the computer. So I couldn't get that working. Had to go grab the Mac keyboard to log in. And then y'all were saying I was blowing your eardrums out and the camera wouldn't focus or nothing. So we're blaming it on Bougie Eric. Didn't want to go out that way and end it on a weird note like that because my computer just completely froze up. So anyway, wanted to hop back on if people want to jump back in. Was having fun. I missed out the chat that we had up there. What I was trying to show you guys is just because I haven't been doing the updates, because Mike had mentioned tag. Let's go over here, Google Sheets. Is it blowing y'all's eardrums out now? There we go. Yeah. I'll blame you, Eric. Bougie Eric's fault. Thanks, Josh, man. I don't know what happened. The computer, I was trying to share this with you guys, and next thing I know, boop, it froze as soon as I went to this. And then when I got right back in it, I was fighting with the stupid keyboard. I got back in here, and y'all were telling me that I was blowing your ear, like you said I was flatlining and stuff. So um well, let me do a share screen real quick. Okay, we'll go here. All right, let me go here. Blow it up a little bit for you guys. All right, so this is where I've been tracking the tag numbers each week. I haven't updated it for a couple weeks because I figured people got kind of bored with that. But just to share with you guys, I have tracked it all along each week. And this week, December 12th, they had an increase of 300 cards. Their total amount graded now is 3,668. Interestingly enough, the most that they graded last week was 184 hockey cards and 69 soccer cards. They didn't do a whole lot of anything else. 36 baseball cards there, but everything else was single digits. So I have still been tracking it. I just haven't been doing the videos and stuff because I figured, showing 200 cards a week, 200 cards a week. Okay, we got it. I was more so doing it to see and try to show if they ramped up progression. The only week that they really surprised me was the one right before the expo here where they did 538. Everything else has just been, roughly in that 200 to 300 range. So that's why I stopped doing those because I didn't, I didn't know how to go about each week, and I figured people would kind of get drug out on showing the 200 cards a week or whatever. I did find it interesting that their two top genres this week was hockey and soccer. That was pretty interesting. But anyway, I was talking about the giveaway and everything. I want to do that. I will post that up and make a community post. I'll post on Instagram. We'll post on Facebook. The missus booked the block of rooms for the National. Excited about that. The National was amazing last year. Can't wait to go this next year. Hopefully get to meet new folks as well as hang out with ones that we've already met. Because the National is just a blast. It's a long week, like walking around, but it's fun hanging out with people. And so can't wait to do that again. Josh said perhaps a monthly video. I could possibly do monthly updates if y'all want that. But I just every weekend was just showing 200 cards, 300 cards, 250, whatever. I figured people by then monthly might be better. Then we can share it and see how their progress is. But I just wanted to share with everybody. I have been every Monday. Monday is when I pull their pop report, and I just transfer it over each week, and then that way I have a rolling count of how many they've done. Just interests me on how much these companies do. Um, Back to the earlier part of the grading thing. I'm not gonna, beat a dead horse with that, but I just want everybody to know too. If you do absolutely just love, using PSA, keep at it. As long as that's what you as long as that's what you're happy with spending your money on, go for it. I'm not here to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do. It's just like when people say they don't have any other options, that I'm always like, it's just crazy to me because if I don't like tops, I can buy something else, right? If I don't like upper deck, I can buy something else. If there was just literally no options, I could see it, but we do have options. So, uh, Andrew said, I forgot to tell you, I bought a tag graded card in an 8.5. I received it, but didn't open it yet. I'm so to completely be transparent, and I think, um, you know, the slab itself is nice. It's almost like that CSG slab I just sent you guys. The label, though, I don't like how it's clear. It might appeal to some people. I could see if you put it in a display case and had like a black background, it might look okay. But for me personally, I didn't care for the clear label. The slab, like the way it feels and everything, it feels nice. It feels, decent quality, pretty clear. But I didn't like the clear label part of it. That's the only thing for me, that I would say I don't like about the slab. Um, Let me know what you think on it, Andrew, when you open it up. But if y'all didn't catch, I went to the LCS last Friday and got really mad at myself because got back home and realized Heritage High number was out, Stadium Club was out, and I didn't even look to see if my LCS had any boxes or how much they were. That was pretty disappointing because that's two products I would have liked to get and open, and didn't even didn't even think about it. I was down there. I was talking to them guys about some stuff and was looking at some other things. I picked up, some supplies and walked right out of there and forgot to even see if he had any boxes of it. So Eric said, I like the physical product very much. Time will tell if the actual grading is accurate. Uh, that's the thing. Like, it's hard to even say if it's accurate because we don't really know 100% what they're basing the grading off of. It's just been said as the industry standard, but then, again, I ask about the scaling with the points and stuff. And, I think that working in manufacturing, machines can do a lot of amazing things. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I will never say it's impossible for a machine or computer or whatever to grade a sports card. It's a pretty simple process. I mean, if Eric can look his card over and figure close to what the grade would be, a machine should be able to be pretty good at it. Um, so I will never say that a machine can't do it. There's some aspects of cards like when they get into the vintage stuff, the authentication. I have questions about because there's not been any answer on how they're actually authenticating. Um, Autograph details, die cuts. When you get into those areas, that's where I don't know how things will be. So that's something that I'm interested to see how the program and the grading and all that moves forward. But CNC machines are amazing. They build tons of parts, that we use every day in our lives, and it's all machines. But those machines are programmed by a human to tell it what to do. The machine does the work, the human tells it how to do the work, essentially. So it all rolls back to a human to begin with, but the computer grading could be a useful tool if things got back to like 2020 levels, where if PSA had it when they had 12 million cards in the backlog, it wouldn't have took 18 months. I mean, they could have just popped them in and spit them out, popped them in, spit them out, Um, so that is one way to look at it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. James said sets are hard to put together because of the price of boxes, but it's a blast for some sets. That is true. Heritage is an awesome set. We really like doing the upper deck sets for hockey. Obviously, those boxes are affordable. Um, there's like tops that used to be a fun one to hand collate, but it like now you can go, you can pick a setup anywhere. They're like so plentiful. They're just sitting on shelves now. So to hand collate a tops flagship set would be, I don't know if I would want to put the time in for that now. Um, but there's still some sets out there that are pretty cool. Uh, I got the, Man, it's 12 minutes left in the Dallas game. I have that on. It's 1-1 if anybody's watching it. They keep going to overtime. I don't know why I think this will be their 8th or ninth overtime game if they don't end it up scoring. So, what is up, Global? How are you doing, sir? I am on take 2. I figured, what the hell? Carlos goes for 6 hours on some lives. I'll do 2 lives in one night. How about that? We'll just we'll just do that. So I wish I could piece them together. I wish I could join part 1 and part 2 and make it one thing. Eric had to screw it all up. He just wanted a thumbnail up twice. I know what his plan was. But anyway. Three Rivers says getting all the young guns has to be tough. And the new products, not really. We also, it's a product that we really enjoy opening. I have that box right there on that shelf. That box is nearly full now. It's a 5-row box, nearly full of young guns. Because what I've talked about, you never know when one of these guys are going to pop off. And I always just like to stash them back there. And normally somebody will be like Tage Thompson. Who would have expected that kid to do what he's done this year? I mean, Gabe Velarde started out real strong. So you never know when a guy is going to catch on to the game, start playing really well. I like to have them in the stash back there. So I keep all of the young guns top loaded back there. And then obviously we send some into grade, but let's see. Carlos says, don't forget to hit the like button. Eric feels bad for the technical difficulties earlier, so we'll be rolling those likes and add the total here. I appreciate that. Hey, that's a new way to do it, Carlos. Do a halftime. So look, think about this. We did the post-game show, right? The post-live when I had the live with a couple weeks ago with Tag. You had the post-game show. You need to just split your Friday lives into 2 portions, and then you can put a halftime show. So you get the first half show, that gets all the likes. Then you do a halftime show, that gets all the likes. And then you can do like the second half show, that gets all the likes. And then if there's, a good flow going on and people in there talking and asking questions, you could even then go to an overtime show and you could just compile all of the likes together. There you go. There you go, Carlos. Working together for the good. Don't compare yourself to that stupid show, Bobble. I need to get you guys on, Eric. I'll tell you this too. This is something I'm bad about. The missus tells me all the time I am bad about it. I agree. I am bad about it. Tonight's live wasn't planned. Eric brought up, like I mentioned in the first part of this, why don't I go live? I need to set a day. I need to set a day that's going to be the Bobbles live show day and stick to it, commit to it. Maybe first of the year. Maybe that's my goal for the first of the year for the channel. Pick a day, set it. We'll try to play with it throughout the rest of the year. And then first of the year, we have a day. We do lives each week, set to it. But I want to have other people on with me. It doesn't have to be the same people every week, but I want to have people on and talk, because when I'm on with them Friday nights, or when I've been on with other people like Scott or JD or whoever, having conversations is just awesome. Like, it's not just me and my opinion. It's multiple people, different opinions, different views, different thoughts, whatever. And the best thing in this hobby is the community and the friendships and stuff. So sitting there and talking about, this nerdy little hobby called sports cards with other people is really awesome. So I need to get better than that. I need to think ahead and like, hey, go live. Anybody interested in hopping on? Anything anybody wants to talk about, come on, let's talk about it. If you ever want to come on, hit us up, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, email, whatever. If you got my phone number, hell, hit me up there. I don't care. Let us know. I love talking to different people. Mike wants to come on right now. All right. Uh, Let me see if I cannot screw this up again. Hold on. Invite, copy. Uh, Send it on Instagram, Mike. Let's see. Message. Paste. All right, I sent it on your Instagram. Sadie. I love Sadie too, man. I need to get you on as well. Trust me, we're not here for your opinion. I know. Y'all are here to talk to the missus. She keeps the chat rolling. I know. Carlos said that man is thinking, promote this man. Carlos, let's do 2 halves, bad and worse. Hey, it'd be like Thursday Night Football, huh? Josh said, just like, thanks for the reminder. All right, we got Mike here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yep.
Am I blowing eardrums out? I
Nope.
don't know what happened earlier.
Yeah, that was buzzworthy.
Yeah, I have a Mac, and sometimes it has it just wants to update, and it doesn't care what I'm doing. It just does its thing, and then yeah, I've never had it happen, I don't think, during a live though. But what's up, man? I watched your video on Bench Clear, and then I obviously watched you with Big Scott. And then I don't know if you went back and called the beginning thing.
I didn't.
I was talking a little bit about, and it's probably just technicalities of the wording that when I listened to it, like when you said the hobby and everybody in the hobby, like I was thinking about that and I was like, but is everybody in the hobby at fault? It was like
No,
that.
of course not.
Right.
I just mean the hobby in general, right? Just, by the way, I'm wearing my SGC hat for you tonight.
I don't have a PSA one. We can really confuse people.
I was eating ice cream with a little caramel and chocolate syrup. Never a bad way and watching you. And I'm like, well, heck, you said, come on. Yeah, that video was just more of like, I think because, and again, I'm going to say the hobby, but I mean, just people in the hobby that do care about grading. We've it's the chicken and the egg, right? Did high prices did an over appreciation for PSA causing high prices cause all the problems, or vice, and nobody likes bad customer service. Like that just sucks. Like nobody's like going, yes, give me that, It was interesting. You said something in the first half about, and I've seen this a lot, people not getting an NDA when they get problems resolved. Lots of people comment, hey, I had this problem and I didn't have to sign anything. I just got my money. And this is with PSA. Certainly it's that way with SGC and probably any other company. But it was interesting. I'm like, wait a second. Are they only sending it to certain people, or is there a dollar threshold maybe that has to be met to need that? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I was having a conversation, I believe it was with Carlos earlier today, and obviously, he's familiar with PSA Canada and Brad and those guys up there. There was something that I didn't even think about, and I don't know if it's been brought up or mentioned, but I believe Ty originally said that they offered him $300, and then he questioned where they got the 300 from, and then they said 700.
So it's 500 to 700. It started at 500.
Okay, 500. Can I ask? I thought that like insurance purposes and everything was the whole reason that they ask you to put a declared value. Why wasn't that ever into play?
Well, everything I've read on their terms of service, which I went back and read after all this shenanigans started weeks ago, you're only supposed to be paid if you don't, you declare a value both for insurance and for if they screw up your card, right?
Right.
And so I would think whatever, I don't know what Ty, honestly, I don't know what Ty put down for his declared value on that card, but that should be a pretty easy thing to figure out what he put down and say, hey,
Right.
you declared a value of, let's say it was 600, somewhere in the, I don't know, some number, right? Well, that's what we're going to pay you. That was your declared value. We agree. They might look themselves and say, well, they declared it at 1,000. It's only a $20 card. I mean, you got to be, I don't think they're going to pay you $1,000 on a $20 card, but if it's reasonable, I would think that they would just pay your declared value and call it a day.
Right. Yeah,
Right. Go ahead.
that was something I was thinking about because I remember I thought he said 300, but 500, he said like a PSA 9 is what they valued it at. And then he said something about, well, how did you come to that? And they were like, well, you're right. Let me talk to them or whatever. And then they came back with 700, which I found it funny that they said it was a PSA 9 to begin with, because if they don't know where the card is, then how do they even know what it graded? So there's a lot of questions beyond the NDA thing on that. I think that is kind of just what sparked so much talk, because like that kind of shocked Ty. You could see it when he did the video. He was like, wait, they told me in order to get my money I had to sign this, and he noticed it was an NDA. But there was a lot of questions even before that whole thing. Even if there wasn't an NDA, there was some questions there.
Well, them
So
telling him that they can't find the card, I don't believe that for 1 second, because they video everything according to what they tell us, right?
right.
And even from talking to Peter, I mean, it's pretty standard procedure now in the grading world. You're videoing everybody all the time. So that card is somewhere. It either got sent, the easiest explanation would be it got mixed up with another order, Trey Lance, somebody just threw it in there. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because typically
Nope.
one grader will take an entire order and do the entire order so that doesn't happen. You don't, hey, I'm sending this card to this guy and this card to this lady, and different people are grading different parts of an order. That just is an invitation for absolute chaos and confusion. So if it went to one person, then why isn't it there? And it's weird that it was another Trey Lance card. I mean, there's so many, you're right, so many questions that Ty still has unanswered. And again, I'm not in every communication. He sends me copies of emails and other stuff that he's getting from them, just because we both find it ridiculous and hilarious at the same time. Trying to figure this out, and for Ty to go, he sent me that video before. He's like, I don't know if I should release this, and I watched it and I'm like, dude, I
He
think
didn't
it's,
say anything wrong.
oh,
You know.
I was like, there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah,
They can't get pissed at you for this. It's the truth.
and even with going back to what you said in your video of that, it's the hobby's fault. That's not wrong, in a sense, but there is options out there. It wouldn't be wrong for Ty. I guess he would be risking the money, but at the same time, that kind of stuff has to be shared, right? He already had done a video saying that the card was lost. He shared the situation. Let's be
Right.
honest, okay? If he had signed that NDA and said, all right, I'm going to follow the rules. I want my money. I don't want to be without nothing. I'm not going to talk about it, and never put another video out, what would happen? Well, you would have hundreds of people asking, hey, Ty, whatever happened to the Trey Lance? Hey, Ty, did PSA ever fix your Trey Lance? And if he signed the NDA and actually stuck to what the NDA likely stated, he wouldn't be able to even give an answer. And then that would look even more suspicious, right?
Right.
They,
How did
they
they pay you off, or what did they have to do to,
yeah, yeah. I
um,
mean, there would be so many questions. And I kind of mentioned it in the first part there. Think about this. You guys are doing chasing cardboard and stuff. You're grading. Some of those cards are amazing, for these people, right? If something is to happen. As a bulk submitter, we deal with, I don't know, I don't even know how many people we have submitted cards for now, and thousands upon thousands of cards. We do everything in the process that these grading companies do outside of look the card over, assign the grade, and put it in the holder. The shipping process, the receiving process, all of that stuff is very similar to what a grading company would do. If we was, and that's why I mentioned it, if James or you or whoever sent me a card and I sent cards back to you and there was a completely different card in there, I would be all over YouTube as scamming people and this, that, and the other, and nobody would ever use this. So that's why it was like, I know what is it, certified sports cards. I think he's had it happen to him twice where he's gotten wrong orders back, but they got it resolved. So when Ty said that they told him they didn't know where the card was, that was like, something doesn't sound right.
Yeah, we
So
don't believe them at all. But what I can't actually, Ty did go there, he went and visited, and Chris Carlisle was super nice to Ty once he found out that Ty is the same guy that did the video about the missing Trey Lance. His tune changed. He was being nice anyway. He's a nice, I have nothing against Chris Carlisle. I just think they are doing a lot of cards. There's bound to be mistakes. Somebody used an analogy with me about a restaurant. If a restaurant, this is a good analogy. If a restaurant you went and you got really bad service, you probably wouldn't go back there again. That's what he told me. And I said, well, it depends. Is it
I
my
actually
100th?
said the same thing to my wife earlier tonight. I used the same thing.
Well, if it's the 100th time you've been there and it's, or 20th time you've been there and it's not so, hey, that was just an anomaly. Okay. Or if, I don't care how bad the service is, if they've got the best chicken fried steak, I'm showing up. They can spit in my drink and whatever else they want to do if it's good food, right? So you can say all day, and the biggest criticism Ty got was he's still going to send in cards to PSA. Well, when we do Chasing Cardboard and we get cards for consignment, and our ultimate goal is to maximize value for the seller, for the owner of the cards, there's a lot of cards we send to SGC, no question, because on a lot of cards, the gap has closed on secondary market value. But there's other cards that just sell for 20% more, 30 in PSA. I can't explain it. I don't necessarily agree with it. But if we're trying to maximize the value, that's why we're still sending to PSA. And you have to accept that sometimes there's going to be some screw ups. That's just part of it. It's not great. We're not happy about it. I think it is. And I do think, I wish I went back after every time you do a video, you probably feel this way. I always go, man, I wish I would have said that differently, or I wish I would have done this. And that was already my third take on that video. I had already said some things.
So you do the same thing I do.
Yeah. I do the same thing. Probably a lot of us do that make content. Is it's never perfect. I'm not a guy that goes back and just completely kicks myself over things, but I do wish I would have said some things a little bit more clear last night, or in the video that I put out yesterday. But I was just pissed. I'm like, because people were ragging on Ty for saying he's going to keep sending in cards to PSA. Look, the hobby created this problem by somehow elevating PSA to this thing where they need to be worth more. I don't get that, but it is what it is.
So that kind of explains it better to me, because when I listened to your video and then when I listened to you on with Scott, I actually was like, I don't think Mike is intending it this way. And I actually was going to just do a video about it, but let's be real. Sometimes context is taken out if you're just sitting there recording. People take things wrong sometimes or whatever that you say. And so that makes more sense. You were in a moment. You were upset about the way people were approaching with Ty. And you guys do have different reasons. Like, so you, and I mentioned this too, most of your collection, like probably 99%, I would say, is PSA, right?
Yeah.
And then you have all of your Perez Steel autos that you do, and those have to be authenticated with PSA. So I can understand your point. And you've even, let's be clear. You've made the mention that if Peter would comp you out to grade all your stuff in SGC and had a registry, you would do it. You've said that
Absolutely.
before.
And I would. I told that to him.
Right. So I don't want to sit here and just say, well, Mike is just solely PSA, but it makes sense if you're someone that wants everything the same. And it also makes sense that you were upset. But you guys also are, like you mentioned, doing the consignments and everything. And I completely get that too, because when I've told people, people ask me a question or something. In fact, the guy that sent the mantles, we had a guy that sent 252 mantles, 252 Jackies, 252 Eddie Matthews, and a 54 Hank. He called me and asked my opinion. I gave him my complete total thoughts, gave him some prices on each that about different grades, comparison, and everything. But then what I told him too, though, and this I think was where he made his decision. The 52 mantles alone were going to cost him $3,000 or $4,000 a piece to grade with PSA.
Right.
So not everybody has that kind of money up front. He wouldn't have been able to afford to send them to PSA.
Right.
So he was able to get them all done with SGC. They didn't give him my bulk rate, but they didn't like ream him over the coals either on the pricing. There was higher charges, but fair. And so just put it this way, he paid less for the entire, like all 7 cards than he would have one mantle with PSA. And he actually thought about it 2 months before he ever sent us the cards. So that shows he did more research. He looked into things and then decided, okay, I want to go this route. I'm not shy to tell people, if it makes sense sending it somewhere else. Sadie's in here, he asks me sometimes my thoughts. I'll give him my thoughts, and it's not always send it to me and I'll send it to SGC, because sometimes things do make sense, especially if you're trying to maximize dollars. And does it make sense overall? Should there be such a extreme value difference? No, but it is what it is. So
he says, "Tell Mike not to block people."
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
I've
me?
just seen that. Yeah, I can hear you.
We don't block people.
I don't know who this is.
I don't block people on my channel.
I don't know who that is. So, but I'm passing the message along. Don't block people. I don't know who TW is.
We don't. I mean, unless somebody does like a streaming cursing thing, you're going to get blocked, because that's just.
I will tell you guys this. I wasn't blocked, and Mike knows. I wasn't blocked on Bench Clear, but for some reason my comments weren't popping up. Mike looked into it, got it fixed, and I'm now able to comment and everything again. So it's likely wasn't intentional.
Right.
So
yeah, you never said anything.
There's Mike. I told him.
yeah, and I fixed it like almost immediately. I mean, it's not. We all voices are welcome, assuming you're not happening more often. Again, I don't know.
I don't know who it is.
It ain't me doing it, and Ty doesn't do it. So Ty's traveling all the time. He never has time to do that kind of stuff. But if you go on a ranting curse stream, that's a good way to get blocked. Probably on anybody's channel. That's just silly,
right? Yeah.
But okay. So I was going to make a point. So I would tell anybody, like, hey, if it's PC for life for you, like starting today, if we were looking at today, PC for life for you, and you don't care what slab it's in, you don't care if you have a Frankenstein collection, use SGC. Submit cards to SGC. If you're going to resell them and they're bigger cards, do your own research. Look at, is it worth it or not? Again, it's not I'm against other companies. I'm just so deep into the PSA way, and I do like having all my collection look the same. That's probably really dumb to a lot of people. They don't get it. I'm not saying it makes any sense either logically, but that's just how I like my collection. And so that's why I'm a PSA guy for my PC.
Let me ask this. When you're like out at shows or whatever.
Yep.
Do you only hunt for PSA slabs, or do you buy other slabs? And if you buy other slabs, do you crack them to then send them to PSA? Specifically, I guess if you need it for your registry, you would. But if it's not like a registry thing or anything, do you crack it out and send it?
No, I've never cracked a card ever. I probably have 5 or 6 SGC slabs in my collection currently, and they're staying there. I do have like a GAI slab because it was just such a good deal on a mini Minoso card. Not an expensive card, but the card was it was cheaper than raw. And it was a GAI 5, and that'll eventually get cracked. But I've never done it. But I I have my 54 Bowman Ted Williams is a SGC 1.5, and it looks great. I'm not cracking that. A couple other just weird. I have a certain leaders card in an SGC slab. People have given me stuff in SGC slabs, and I don't get rid of them. I don't.
I was just curious if you take them and swap them out. I knew you mentioned you had a few when you were talking to Scott, that you still had a few. I think I have 8 different company slabs, but some of them there's very few. Like I have one GAI as well. Uh, it's a old classic Shaquille O'Neal autograph that I had as a kid. I found one in a because I thought the card was fake when I was a kid. I found one in a GAI slab, and I was like, "Oh, well, it was real. Let me buy another one." I have a couple GMAs. I have a 55 tops Jim Thorpe. That was the only one I could find on eBay at the time I bought it. It was a GMA slab. I've kept it in it, and I have a Joe Morgan rookie that I got in a GMA slab because it was really cheap. But then I have PSA, and the only slab I don't really care for is HGA, and I don't like the clear label on tag. The others, I actually like the label. I've sent cards to CSG for the little bit of experience I've used them for. Their service is pretty good too. Their slabs are obviously really nice. Resale, it's not there. So, if you're trying to sell the stuff, you might not want to go that route. But for PC and the cost, again, like you said, if you don't mind different slabs, they're great for PC stuff because, to get my Griffies and stuff slabbed up, it's saving me a lot of money that way. I don't know how their registry will take off. Most of the Griffies I sent in, that's the only one in their pop, so they're not on registry. But yeah,
That's
I mean, I
funny
agree.
what you said, and it goes to show what I'm about to tell you goes to show the immense diversity that we have among all the different collectors that are out there. I particularly like the HGA flip. I like the different color matches and stuff like that. I've never sent any cards to them, but you don't like it, and that's but my point is,
it's not the flip I don't like. I just don't like the slab. I don't. The slab feels like a different material. I actually, funny enough, when we were at Chantilly, HGA had that booth.
Yeah.
I talked to the guy that is apparently their CEO. I didn't know he was the CEO. And I told him some things about the actual slab that I didn't like. Um, he told me, so I guess it's okay to share it, but they're supposed to be coming out with a new material for their slabs. So maybe it'll change the way they feel and everything. But I just don't like the way the slab feels. It's not even the flip. It's just the slab itself.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could go, okay, we'll take CSG's plastic because it's the clearest. We'll take this flip, find make the best grading out of each one does something probably that people like, and they do things that people don't like. I love that HGA has a horizontal slab. I think that's so cool. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't other companies adopting that? That's such a
Why
cool
did they
idea.
never do it to begin with? Like, for HGA, that is a bragging right because this hobby and grading has been around for so long. And to my knowledge, nobody had ever done it. So
Like I
that's
said last night,
that's pretty big bragging right, I would say.
we're like the Titanic as a hobby in general. We don't like change. We bitch and complain about monopolies. And this is just in general, people that I hear talk about this, that are comments that I read, they complain. And yet when somebody else comes along trying to do something different, we're slow to adopt, we're slow to embrace tag, as much as they are trying to do something different. Like it or don't like it, make your own decision, but they are trying to do this 1,000,000,000 point grading scale and all these different things. It's like that's what we're like, we want this, and then somebody does it and we're like, yeah, but no, it's not like this other thing that we have already.
What's your
um
thoughts on the 1,000 point, being that SGC used to have the 100 and it was hated?
yeah, I think it's overkill, honestly.
Yeah.
um
I think the computers could eventually work. It'll be interesting to see. I want them to do vintage and like die cuts and all that stuff and see how that works out. Um, playing 35 or 55, whatever point max they can do from 2000 to present with no autographs or anything like that. It's a bit simplistic and limited for what the hobby as a whole general, you know, system has. It'd be interesting to see. They're supposedly going to roll out older years, so
yeah, but
um,
will the hobby give them time to work those bugs out and work those kinks out? We're not very forgiving. We're not like going, yeah, you guys work that out. We'll just hold all these cards and wait for you guys to roll this out.
well, I don't know if you caught the part. I actually track their pop report each week. It was
Yeah,
something I like looking at gem rate,
yeah.
and I started doing it. Looking at their stuff, and I noticed how easy their pop report was to look at. All the numbers. So I made a spreadsheet, and each week I go in there on Monday and I pull it up. And right now they're only doing around 200 to 300 cards a week. Um, and that's been consistent for about the past 6 weeks now. Uh, I was told they have, what did he say, 30 to 40,000 cards or something sitting there. If you do the math on that, that would take a long time to get all those cards done without taking any others in. So I've been waiting to see when they're going to ramp up. Whether I want to use them or not, I'm very curious. How many can they do? Because if there's one thing I know from working in manufacturing, using machines, using computers to do aspects like that, it could definitely speed up the process. You know, it should be more consistent because it's not a human, looking at a card after card after card after card. It's a computer that's programmed and calibrated. So I want to see how many can they actually do. Now, obviously, it'd be based on how many computers they have and all of that stuff, but I'm very curious on that aspect of it.
Well, let me ask you this on your pop report, this gem rate data that you pull. PSA is doing about 1,000,000 cards a month, give or take, right?
Right.
And SGC is probably second, would be my guess.
Overall, it's CSG and CGC when you combine the sports and trading card stuff.
Right. I'm thinking just sports cards.
Sports cards is definitely SGC second.
Okay. So if you go sports cards, but I bet if you added up SGC, HGA, CSG, tag, all of them, they don't equal a
million?
smidgen.
No.
Not even close, right? And so the problem with grading is that you've got this gigantor, market share for PSA. They have no reason to add a horizontal slab. They don't have any competition, right? Really?
Right.
And then my next question is, whose fault is that? Is that PSA's fault for being no, people send cards to them. We all have a choice of who to send our cards to. Until people stop sending cards to PSA, which they would if the secondary market, I think they genuinely would if the secondary market values were more in line, grade to grade, even grade to even grade, then you would see some people. Go ahead.
I noticed you mentioned the 9 in your video because you were like comparing the PSA 9 and SGC 9. Were you speaking on vintage or like just in general? Because many cases, like the newer stuff, the 9s are pretty close relatively. I mean, it's going to vary on certain cards, but they're pretty close on 9s. It's the 10s where the real gap starts to come into play.
But what, again, even if it's, let's say it's even at a 9 and then the PSA 10's worth 20% more. Why is a PSA 10? And those are just kind of the questions that I go, it's only that way because we think it should be that way. We being people that buy and sell cards. If we said, no, it's not, this shouldn't be worth more. That's dumb. I'm not going to pay you 20% more when I can buy an SGC 10 for 20% less.
One thought that I
don't know.
have, and this could
Yeah.
be way off, but it's something using SGC now for several years. I think where things, so as you know, everybody wants to rely on the last sold price and comps and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
PSA having the million card a month, they obviously have a lot more out into the open market. When auctions are ran on PSA, more eyes are seeing the PSA card. It's just like you go to PWCC right now and cards are selling under eBay. Why? Less eyes over at PWCC than at eBay. So when people are running auctions, less people are finding the SGC slabs. Therefore, auctions are, they're getting crushed, so to speak. And then the next time somebody wants to send one, or sell one, they're like, the buyer's like, oh, well, the last one sold at this, I want this price or below. Then, it's the trickle effect, right? So the PSA's got the more eyes because obviously it's actually kind of funny when you think about it because in sports cards, the supply demand is always spoken on, right? The lower supply, the higher demand, and now it's like in grading, it's the higher supply. It's what dictates the values because that's what people are seeing. Same way with the marketplaces. eBay is king because more people are there. So there's other great selling platforms. My Slabs is great, but not as many people go to it. So
Yeah, it's this
but
weird, which problem do you fix first, if it's even fixable, and to get PSA, and with the ultimate goal, if PSA took care of people and did right, they could drive everyone else out of the business. Well, no, there are people that just like us. You're never going to completely own the market, but you're going to have less people jumping from PSA if they could somehow deal with their customer service shortcomings. And again, I've heard
that's the
great stories.
biggest.
People have told me great stories about PSA. They had a card damage, this or that. They were on it. They took care of it. So I've heard good experiences that people have had, and I've heard bad experiences similar to what Ty's going through. Really, so that's a Ty card, that Trey Lance card. It's not a Chasing Cardboard card or anything. That was a PC card for him. So,
Yeah, I mean, I have a short a short leash when it comes to the customer service side of things. So I tried them once. I gave PSA a shot once back in October of 2019. And yeah, I'm not gonna go. Carlos always gives me crap. He's like, "Yeah, we've heard your story 42,000 times now," but I'm not gonna go into the story. But yeah, I used them once. I didn't like the experience. I found somebody else. Um, was it necessarily? Should it have been a deal breaker? Most people likely not. But I'm the one, like, if I go to a restaurant and it's bad service, like, it depends on what it is. But if it's bad service, I likely won't go again. Um, that's just kind of how I am. I don't know. It might be a negative quality. I know I get a lot of it from my grandfather, which that's never a bad thing. Um, but I guess you could call it like the grumpy old man syndrome. But I want the service that I pay for.
and I agree that I like having multiple options. I think competition is good. Right now, I just don't think it's a very fair competition. I think PSA has such a giant head start and lead in the hobby. SGC is doing their best to carve into that market share and doing different things and being innovative and creative and taking care of their customers and doing the things that are right, because Peter is trying to do things right. He's a good guy, and trying to run that company the right way. PSA doesn't care about us. That's completely evident in everything that they do. They would say up front that they do. If you went to their booth at the National and said, "You guys hate us," and they're like, "No, we love you," but the reality is they print money whether I stop grading with them or you stop grading with them, or
Right. Somebody else is
doesn't
going
move the
to.
needle. It needs to be
Right.
a tsunami of people stopping, a tsunami of people saying, "Enough already. Stop. You can't keep doing this to us. We're not going to take it
And
anymore."
and I have to say, one thing that I do appreciate, and I know you know the guys down at SGC, Peter, Brian, and
Yep.
all those guys. Um, when I've ever felt like customer service is like slipping or something, or I try the best I can for the people that submit with us. I try to give them the best service we can. We've always been as cheap as we possibly can. We've always, as quickly, if somebody messages us, we try to be as responsive as we can. Obviously, it's difficult sometimes when there's multiple different areas that people are messaging you from. Um, I always, the missus thinks I'm crazy, but when the order's back, as soon as it comes in the door, I crack the box, start sorting. We do all the sleeves and everything that's been since day one. But when I've had issues, or if I'm like, if people have a question or something, and I knew when they started adding on more people and they started getting more popular, I knew it was going to become harder to get answers. I knew it was going to become harder to, get instantaneous. I couldn't sit on the phone with them and talk for an hour or whatever, just whenever the hell I wanted, because they were getting busier. I knew Brian was taking on more on his shoulders, but I've called and told him, I'm like, man, I've got concerns here. I don't want the customer service to go away, because that's what I've always been like so happy with, and been, praising of you guys for, is that service, knowing if a customer has a question, I can reach out and get an answer and everything. Don't let that slip. I understand you got a lot more work to do, but I want to make sure that that we're still on the same page here, and we both have the same end goals. And they're usually pretty good about that. I mean, I have to understand that he's got a lot of people that he's taking care of now. So when I first started, there wasn't that many, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a different space now.
So Inglorious P has a comment. PSA does not have some huge lead in the market in anything other than resale. How many cards is SGC? How many sports cards is SGC?
Let me check real quick. Search.
I think I know what their capacity is based on what Peter's told me, and I'm curious if
They
that's
should be
being
at about 120,000 a month. What they're capable of doing.
right.
November they did 66,000 sports cards.
So PSA does 1,000,000 sports cards. No, they
No,
do 1,000,000 total. How many sports
they
cards?
did. So PSA did 548,000 sports cards. 452,000 were TCG and non-sport.
So 500 and that's almost 10x what SGC does.
Right.
That's a huge lead in the market. I don't
As a
care.
total, since you asked earlier, as a total, it was 136,000 between SGC, CSG, and Beckett.
So
So
between all three of them, they're not even close to 20. They're
they're
20%.
they're around 20%. Yeah.
Yeah. So PSA does have a huge lead. And again, until that shrinks, until that
They
cracks a little
also,
bit.
I might be wrong. PSA also, don't they have like the Japanese facility that, like, don't they have overseas facilities that they're actually grading and encapsulating in as well? Plus, they got two offices. I mean, they should be able to crank out, but they have to have the demand. That's the key thing. They have to
Right.
be getting the cards in to do them.
It
So,
has to change on the demand side,
right.
right? As
And
long as
even after 18 months, they're still doing a million cards. Like, I was listening to Retro Hoops and JD do that Card Hedge podcast,
yeah,
and I thought
Omar.
it was funny because I think Retro said they were gonna drop down to, like, I don't remember the number he said, 55,000 or something like that by February of 2023, and I'm like, "There is no way in hell PSA goes from 1,000,000 a month to $50,000 a month. There's no way like
Right.
the hobby would have to pretty much crash for that to happen.
Yeah, it's
So,
this isn't going to change quickly. I am glad that Ty kind of showed our cards, no pun intended. Like, here's what's happening right now. Here's everything that's going on, and it's funny to see how most people are very nice and supportive, and like, man, that sucks, and and you always get the couple of knuckleheads that think they've got it all figured out. So I've just and I talking to friends like you and I wish nothing happened and it was all settled and we could say, man, PSA really handled this well. We'd love to do that video, right? I mean,
outside, so let me ask this, and maybe this could clarify a little bit more.
yeah.
Outside of the NDA, did the process go acceptable? Like, was Ty happy about the process other than that form and that NDA?
Well, when you have to call, leave a voicemail, pray that somebody calls you back. When they do, they really can't, it's got to get escalated to a supervisor and this and that. I mean, that whole thing took 5 weeks of emails back. And so, no, we weren't happy
Okay.
with it at any point along the process because I keep saying Ty. Ty was just frustration text to me after frustration text of, you're not going to believe what they said now. And he'll forward me the email or whatever. And it took no, it's not good at any step along the way.
Right. Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's something that I just in my, on my behalf, anytime that somebody's ever messaged me and said, "Hey," well, actually, there's been occasions, I don't know if you guys have ever ran into this. There's been occasions that the customer didn't even have to message me. SGC will call me and say, "Hey, we apologize. One of our guys, damaged the card. It was this grade. Now it's this grade. This is like the difference in price. We're going to give them this much money." And then it gets compensated, and it's always like above the difference in market value. But there's been times they've called me without me even having to notice it. Then there's been times where somebody will be like, "Hey, I noticed this on a card, and can you ask them about this?" I'm like, "Okay, do you have any before pictures?" Because they'll ask, and obviously they have to ask, because then everybody would say their SGC2 vintage cards were damaged in the process. But no, they gotta have pictures. And that's another reason I try to do the preview, is hopefully I capture it um on the preview, but it's not going to show all the details. So I always ask if they have pictures. If I can show them what the card looked like ahead of time, they don't even question it. They're
right.
like, "Hey, send it back, let us look at it. We'll pop it out. If it needs a different grade, we'll fix that, and we'll compensate them the difference." So it's never been a problem.
Well, just so everybody knows, if you think we're only PSA homies, we're not. I bet through Chasing Cardboard, which is where most of the cards get submitted from collections that we're finding, it's 40 or 50 to 1 in how many cards we grade with SGC versus PSA. So we're sending a tremendous amount to SGC, and there's just certain cards that it just makes more sense to wait a little bit longer and pray it doesn't get screwed up. And not everybody gets to fly to California and hand deliver cards like we did. That was kind of cool to be able to do that.
What did you guys take to them? Just out of curiosity,
It was a
if you can
Mantle
say.
52 Mantle. A couple of rare mantles, an exhibits mantle that's super rare, bunch of Ruth stuff, Cobb T206s, stuff like that.
So that was the West Virginia find, right?
Yep.
Damn, right here in my backyard.
Yeah, we were in Berkeley Springs, West
Yep,
Virginia.
I've been through there several times, so it's a nice little town there.
A cool little town. I'd never been to that part of the country. It was gorgeous. It was October, so it was beautiful, and it was we enjoyed doing that. But I'm gonna let you get back to everybody else, and somebody else can jump in here if they want. I've taken up enough of your time, but I'm glad
Hey, I
you have.
appreciate you hopping on. And again, it makes more sense now. You were riled up and all of that. Um, I hate hearing it, and I know sometimes words get generalized, but I hate hearing like when people feel like they don't have other options out there. All you got to do is take the jump and accept the other option. You know, I did it. People called me stupid, crazy for using SGC. All PSA sells for more. I didn't care. I was making profit, and profit was what when I was selling a car. As long as I was making profit, I was fine.
Right.
And I've stuck with it, rode the train, and I'm someone that loves customer service, and they provide excellent customer service. Plus, I've been able to build an awesome, Facebook group and all of that stuff as well, and met a lot of awesome people. So, but anyway, I do appreciate you hopping on, and explaining even more of it. So,
You bet, man.
but
Always happy to
thanks,
do it.
Mike.
See you, buddy.
All right, I will. You guys have got the comments here rolling along. We were kind of talking back and forth there, having a conversation. So I was reading some. Carlos did say PSA Japan. I thought they had an overseas. Brendan Ryan said 900,000, too many. They obviously can't handle the volume. They're handling it. I just think sometimes things might get rushed. Mistakes are going to happen. Again, working in manufacturing, it's going to happen. It's not about mistakes not happening. It's how they're handled after they do happen, and then trying to get better at limiting the mistakes. That's the key for this type of job or industry, because grading is very similar to manufacturing. You're going to make mistakes, but you got to find ways to try to limit them. And then how do you handle it when they are made? So I think that was the biggest issue here. And I didn't realize that it was even more to it. The 5 weeks and other things that happen. So the handling part is the biggest issue. Uh, Carlos said, I maintain a good facade for YouTube, but we all know he's secret. Man, y'all got jokes. I wish I was running SGC. Peter has got a hell of a job, especially for his age. And Gloria said, what I'm saying is how much of those cars are for resale? How much of that is for people to grade and flip? That's a tough one to tell. Throwing off of just throwing a line out there, I'd probably say at least 65-35. Just knowing like even people that grade with SGC, kind of what their ratio is and who PCs, who sends a little bit to PC and sell. I would say a good guess would be 65-35, but that's a tough one. That would be cool if somebody could actually track the serial numbers that got posted on eBay by new serial number. That would be kind of interesting. A lot of people said thanks. Mrs. says she's out. It is 10 o'clock. If anybody else wants to hop on, I'll stay on for a little bit longer. If not, I do appreciate you all. This has been awesome, especially having to. My computer froze up, had to fix it, go out, come back, make a whole new stream. I'm surprised y'all showed back up. But I do appreciate you guys. It's always a lot of fun. If you don't mind, hit the like button. Carlos and Eric would appreciate it. That way, Carlos can bill Eric. Eric loves the like button. Stay tuned. I will be doing the giveaway announcement on how we're going to do that, when it'll happen, and everything. We'll have some fun. Do a little Christmas time. Just giving back. I like to do giveaways and have fun. And I'll tell you guys, if you have never, and this is I didn't know it would be this fun. I knew the missus would enjoy it, but I didn't know it would be this fun. When we went out yesterday and shopped for toys, like I've told y'all, my kids are 22 and 17. They haven't wanted toys in a long time. When we went out in the toy section, looking, just loading a cart up with toys, that was fun. And then to get to the cash register and see you got a full cartload of toys. And I had been keeping track on my calculator, but there was some sales and that kind of stuff. To see that an entire cartload of toys was only $400, I was amazed. You can't even buy a PlayStation for $400. So that was so much fun. Taking them over, dropping them off, donating everything. I hope whoever ends up with them has a great time. There is a lot of cool toys out there. A lot of neat little educational, like leapfrog stuff and all that. Just some cool stuff. Um, the card story said, "Thanks for doing this, sir. When do we get to see here the Charger? Finding 93 octane is getting harder." Oh, somebody asks about the Charger. I'll have to post a video or like a clip or something one day. It does have a tune and it does have exhaust work done to it. So, but that's the reason I have to do 93 is I have a Diablo tune on it and I have a leg maker cold air intake on it. There's a few things done to it. Um, but that's why I have to put 93 in it because I have a 93 octane tune on it. So Carlos says his favorite toy as a kid was a Nerf football. Actually, I actually meant to go over to the where they had basketballs and footballs and stuff and grab some. I did forget about that. Thank you for reminding me. I did mean to pick some of those up. There's actually some neighborhood kids up the street that's been playing outside every day. It's great to see kids actually. It's like 8 or 10 of them outside every day playing football. It actually makes me excited to see that because you don't see that much anymore. So, there's too much breakables in the house, Sadie. It sounds like a lot of fun, but there's too much breakables. If I broke a bobblehead, she would like find a way to actually load up a gun. And no, she wouldn't do that. But anyway, yeah, if I broke a bobblehead, all hell would break loose. I can make fun of Bougie Eric for a few minutes if you like. I don't mean, yeah, I can throw you an invite, Carlos. I don't know how much longer I'll stay since it's Monday, but we can shoot the breeze for a little bit. If I can find, oh, I closed Discord because people tell me your Discord's going off. Let me shoot this over real quick. Maybe. Will it load? I did see the Stars lost 2-1. That sucks. Congrats to the Penguins. All right, let me close that out now so it doesn't ding. Semantics, just shoot her. Keep her from coming in the front door. Man. Now, if I broke bobbleheads, that would be a sad day in the Bobbles household. Let's see. We would take a Nerf football to the beach. It would get saturated with ocean water. When you caught it, it would knock it down. Oh yeah, those things got heavy. They were literal sponges with the outer coating. They were about the only thing Nerf made really good though, outside of the Nerf guns. The footballs were good. The basketballs and stuff like that were not good. They did not know how to make a Nerf basketball set. Say no to dopes. Eric, you've made a hell of an appearance tonight, man. 2 thumbnails. I gotta give it to you, man. Poor guy Eric will be eating squirrel hips and rat knuckles for dinner because the light broke. Dang, man. I can't see it. I don't know how Carlo. He must have his stream pulled up muted on another screen when he's doing it. I don't know how he sees it because it doesn't show me on here. Hey, I'm just glad y'all have hung around. What's up, sir?
Not too much. What's going on?
Not
listen,
much.
Bougie Eric specifically, don't listen to anything he does in the chat. He was text messaging you got to go on there, make fun of me, like destroy me. And I go, listen, whatever you're going to do, whatever helps the entertainment value, gets the likes up. He goes, look, it's a holiday season. I want to pay double what I usually pay. It's like, dude, you're a generous man. I got to give it to you.
You know, he's not wrong. I have to admit something. I was pretty pissed on the first go around because when the computer froze and then I couldn't even log back in because this wonderful keyboard that I absolutely love would not connect to the computer to allow me to put my password in. I'm like, what good is this thing, right? So then I had to go dig out the old brick keyboard and yeah, I was mad. And then I was like, well, I got on here and y'all are all like, he's flatlining. And I'm like, what is going on? My camera wasn't focused. I don't even know what it was focusing on. It was just blurry.
Well, that was my favorite part. My favorite part is he didn't just have a camera. You had the out of focus losing its mind. Plus, you had Morse code coming in. You said Eric is sabotaging and send help. We all got it. It was like, all right then, great, sounds good.
And then I pop back, but this shows how awesome everything is. Like I pop back on, and still 20 plus people pop on here. I didn't expect it. I figured I'd get like 10 people
No
come
man,
on to hear
no
me
man.
talk.
It's almost most of the nights of the week. It's actually not bad. It's actually not too bad at all. So
Yeah,
so
but
now,
after you go through that debacle, you're like, "Ain't
oh
nobody
no,
coming back."
that makes people more interested. They're like, will it happen again?
Yeah.
There's a curiosity factor. It's like, could it happen again? Could he completely crash hard twice?
Did he
Are we-
buy one of those leapfrog tablets for himself? Is that what he's running this on?
Well, but then we could add a conspiracy. It's like, so did SGC put him down because he wasn't quite praising the mothership enough? Did Nat Turner send an EMP to take out Virginia so that no electronics work? What happened?
Here's what happened. So I was trying to pull this up. And that's
So
what
then
it's
it was
from.
tagged at you. It was the AI. It was Skynet and the stupid tag bots that got to you.
It literally froze when I said I haven't done a video on it in a while, but I'll go ahead and show you guys this. And I went over to my other screen to pull up the tab, and it just like locked up. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't have tried that.
They were very upset that you were so mean to Steve. So mean. So horrifically unfair.
Yeah.
So the tag guy's finally like, oh, we'll show you. We got AI.
So you're doing your little kind of yearly recap type style.
Yeah, the year-end review thing. Yeah, I got 3 videos I've done the last couple of years for year-end review. Yep.
What is your thoughts outside of your goals? What is your thoughts going into 2023 on where things will, like we were all talking about the national and stuff today.
Mhm. Yeah.
Where do you see things being by the national 2023 overall? Like as far as the hobby, the volume of people in it, do you think will start falling off after the first of the year? You think it'll stay? You think we're at kind of a leveled off period, or?
We should be, but realistically, I think there's more room for there to still be a lot more economic issue. And if you have more job losses, that's going to suck some money out of the system. Now, it's going to be one of those, let's put it this way. It's going to be a buyer's time for the actual investors. I'm not talking about cards. I'm talking about like real investors. If you're somebody who has funds, I'm looking at actual investments, not cardboard. But then that means that money gets sacked out of the system. Inglorious did the thing where he was talking about how the flippers go away. The truth is, the sports card marketplace today can't survive on collectors alone. The flippers serve a purpose. The box breakers serve a purpose. The cards don't come out of the boxes because everybody says the boxes are too expensive, which is true. Why do we need breakers? Because the boxes are too expensive. Oh, but the breakers made the boxes too expensive. You're doing the chicken or the egg argument. Your idea is, okay, if I snap and Thanos away the flippers, Thanos away the box breakers, cool. Oh, did the boxes suddenly drop down to $20 a box, $50 a box, $100 a box? I don't think so. And if they do, then what's in it is $1 worth of stuff. So it's like, all right, you got your $100 box, but you're getting $1 worth of cards in it. Like, is that what you actually wanted? Is that what you were asking for? Because that's what you'll get.
I think they're going to become more important too. I heard something from my LCS owner. He's not too happy about it. I'll just put it in that way,
Yeah.
in those terms. He has a direct Tops account, so this isn't like distribution networking. He's direct to Tops, and he's not too happy about some changes that have been occurring.
Yeah, with allocations.
The what did you say? I'm
with
sorry.
allocations.
Not just specifically allocations, but margins as well.
Yeah. If you're
and that's
Fanatics, you make it untenable so that you can close those accounts. You actually want to kill them all.
Yeah,
Like again, I think people forget, like a lot of these companies, Fanatics is in the business of making money. They're not in the
Right.
business of keeping the old Tops, the old Tops guys that had the direct connection to Tops. Your goal is to make it so untenable they can't maintain it, and then they have to drop the account. And as soon as they drop the account, okay, that's off the lot. That's off the ledger. Fanatics wants to go direct to consumer. If they could, they would just cut off the LCS. You can buy it on the website, Fanatics website, like everybody else.
And then they can play good guy. I kind of was talking about this with the missus. They can still play good guy because if shops, and I don't know how many direct accounts there are, or if this is affecting everybody or just him or, certain people. I don't know how, like, the whole details of it. But if that starts happening and shops, like, even if they don't close, because the beautiful thing with my LCS is he's smart. He's not just a card shop. He has like gifts and other stuff in there, and he's in downtown of the city. So he gets a lot of foot traffic for things other than, sports cards. So he can survive without that aspect of it. But let's say, shops start dwindling off. They can say, well, we were offering them the product, we didn't take allocations away. But they're not going to say, well, we cut their damn margins to little or nothing, So it'll be interesting to see. They can play, good cop, bad cop here, make their money, make more money, but actually put a squeeze on some of those guys too. So,
well, I think what people forgot, because people cite the junk wax era, but they didn't actually learn the lessons of the junk wax era. They don't actually understand why, because they said, oh, it was overproduction. No, it wasn't. Overproduction wasn't the issue. The issue was that a lot of those businesses were not running an effective business. They were relying on the product being sellable. And the problem is that when the new product wasn't sellable because of overproduction was a symptom of an overall problem. The business, everybody and their brother had a card shop in the early 90s. Well, the reality was that's because there was a ton of product out there. And as long as people kept buying it, it was fine. As soon as people stopped, there was tons of excess product. You can't get rid of it. And your business model was actually operating on what were actually narrow margins for a lot of that product. Well, then all of a sudden you can't make any money, and a bunch of them close up shop. But they should have. They actually were bad businesses. They should have closed.
Well, that period also got exposed with the internet coming out.
It did. But the point is
how much.
But the point is that the shops that lived through it adapted immediately. They weren't relying on box prices and box sales.
Oh,
as
yeah,
soon as the stuff was overproduced, they're like, but we sell singles, but we sell all this other stuff. And as soon as the eBay became available, they opened up an eBay account. And they're like, oh, I can sell internationally too. And they lived and they survived right through it. And they kept on going as long as they wanted to go, basically. Because the people that actually knew how to operate a bit, but funny enough, most people that when a boom happens, a lot of people can start up a business. Most of them don't know how to run a business. It only works while the boom is happening. As soon as we take the octane right out of it, it's like, well, now you actually have to know how to run a business. It turns out most of you didn't know how.
Right, yeah. Because it's easy. It's kind of like selling cards. It was, let's not fool ourselves. 2020 and early 2021. It was literally selling ice to Eskimos.
It was. I used one example that was like the most extreme example of how dumb it was at the Absolute Apex, and I shared it on the channel and on the live stream for people. I said, back in 2018, I was buying boxes of 2018 Topps Chrome UFC. I was buying it for under $100 a box. It was cheap and it was fun, and I actually have the autograph set. Most of it's done except for 2 stupid cards. But the point is, I built it by opening boxes because they were so cheap boxes. And the thing is, I had the Conor McGregor refractor. Those things are not rare. I actually bought, but the thing is, the Conor McGregor refractor, I bought it on ComC. I bought it on ComC for under $1. I bought it for like 80 cents. I sold it on eBay for almost $50. 80 cents, $50. That thing wasn't numbered. That thing wasn't rare, but it was the absolute Apex. 80 cents to $50. What's the profit margin on that? Now imagine if I had a stack of them.
That Sean's in here. I haven't seen JJ in tonight, but they used to joke around and say that I lived in the Prison Palace because, and still to this day I find some, but I had been buying a ton of Prism, basketball and football from 2018 and then obviously 2019. Then I bought a bunch of 2019 Optic, and when the bubble hit, when the NBA bubble hit, I couldn't, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like, you go on, okay, what young player scored 15 points and had 8 rebounds tonight? Oh, okay, Darius Baisley. All right, cool. Let me just go pull all my Baisleys out, put them on eBay, $150, whatever. boom, next morning sold. It was like every night just going through, okay, this guy, okay, game, Bowl. Everybody like talks about how Bowl is now or whatever. That exhibition game, I think I had 36 or 42 bowls or something, colors, all sorts of stuff. Unloaded them all. I don't remember exactly how much I got for them, but I was just taking players out, chunks,
Yeah.
putting lots up. And then I got to the point where, okay, this is like, I had so much of it. I sold. I don't even remember how much it was. A guy named Ted over in California. He was opening up a little shop in a antique mall type
With his
thing.
buddy Bill?
And, what's that?
With his buddy Bill?
No.
They could have had an excellent adventure. That's very disappointing. You said they had more of a bogus journey.
No, he bought a ton of it. He's actually a very nice guy. He's a preacher, but he was into cards, and he bought a boatload off of me and did very well on them too. So I can't sit here and pretend that even knowing about the hobby or being in the hobby for years or what have you, you didn't have to know the hobby to make money in 2020 and 2021. You could throw the dart at the dartboard and hit any of the people on it, and you could make money off of it. That was just how it was, especially if you had this stuff already sitting in your inventory before the boom happened. Like you were just tossing, Scrooge McDuck in the gold pile.
Well, the only limit was how entrepreneurial you wanted to be, because there was a window there where you could do a lot of transactions. The problem with the stuff like that is I was always very too lazy. That was one that fell into my lap, and as soon as I saw what they were selling for, I was like, all right, well, I'll sell it to you for $50 if that's what you want. I was actually at one point thinking of doing the set, but I was like, nah, I'd rather sell this to you for $50 than I paid 80 cents for it. And I sold off a bunch of the other stuff at that time, but I could have easily had more stuff sitting around. But I had the luxury of being able to sit and wait. I didn't need to care. I wasn't worried about it. I opened 2018 Prism Football. I didn't pull most of the good guys at the time, but I pulled the Josh Allen.
That stuff was, I mean, I know you're up north of the border. I don't know how it is up there, but here it was funny looking back on it when all of like, the 2020 time period and everything, the wax wasn't on the shelf. And I was thinking back, I was like, even if I went and bought Prism, basketball or football, there was still plenty more on the shelf. Like there was so much I couldn't buy it all. And this is retail form. The hobby stuff was a lot more, limited, but that's also when in 2018, the silvers weren't in retail packs for football. So, it was a lot more limited of a situation there. But you could go to the store at any moment and casually walk in, grab you a couple packs, go home. You didn't feel the need that, oh my God, this is the first time I've seen wax in forever. I need to get, 10 boxes. You could go in and just buy a couple packs and know later that week, if you wanted a few more, you could go back and get them because they weren't going nowhere. So it was a much different time. But also people like, I still remember, and there's folks that have watched when I had that Lamar Jackson 2018 rookie, Prism rookie in a 10. And that thing hit like $3,700. I sat right here and I said, this is stupid. Like this card is not a $3,700 card. And I wound up selling it because it was just like, this is dumb. One of my best moves, which was people were questioning it, and I didn't know if it would like pan out or not. But I was sending in the 2019 Prism LeBron James, the base cards, because it was his Laker rookie. And everybody, I had stacks of them. And people were like, you really think those are going to sell? Let's try it.
There was a moment
I
in
don't
time
even
when it
remember
did.
how much.
Yeah, people were reaching for almost. I remember that was like the apex of like Lucas Tigers and Bronze, and they were talking about a bunch of that stuff because people basically, when the rookie wasn't available. So what happened was what always happens. It was too expensive. The rookies and everything got too expensive. Then you go to the second years. That got too expensive. You went to the third years, and then you started coming up with stuff. Oh, the first Laker card.
Yep.
With Brady, it was the first Tampa Bay card. It was like, let's just make something up and be like, whatever makes the most, whatever we can do. And Sean there was talking about Project 2020. That had its moment in the sun. Right up until the Griffey, I think it was the Shore Griffey. The Shore Griffey.
Yep.
That was like the absolute apex. Right up until that moment.
I don't remember when I did it, but I did a video on that too, and people thought I was just being negative, but I basically said you got to understand, like people are going to catch on to this, and the more people that are loading up on Project 2020 trying to flip them, that's the shine's going to wear off of that, and they're going to end up selling so many of them that you're going to get stuck with them. And sure enough, boom, it I think it was maybe within a week after I did that video, the Short Griffey came out, and then it was over.
Yeah.
You can still move some of them, but then Topps got smart. Topps did get smart putting those foils in there.
Yeah, but you know what was fun for me? There was a blowout forum post, and I'm sure it's still up there, for Project 2020 when it was happening. And it was tens of thousands of posts on this one thread. It was a mega thread, just ridiculous. And you can almost follow the entire path of Project 2020 from fairly early on all the way through. Where there was a guy at one point that was posting stacks of Project 2020 cards, and he had stacks of a bunch of the rarer ones, and he actually had a running tally of the going market value of the stack that he was showing. And at one point, that stack was worth multiple millions of dollars. He literally had millions of
Holy
dollars.
crap.
He had the representation of millions of dollars in that stack if he had just sold it at the time he posted that card, that picture with his stack. And I remember sitting there going like, my thought wasn't like, well, you don't need to sell the whole thing, but you could sell like a chunk of it. Like you could sell a quarter of it and have $500,000 in cash sitting around, or half, and
Right.
you've got $1 million. Or I got close to $3 million at his absolute apex. And then as the market started to decline on them, other folks would post from time to time, like, hey, I wonder what happened to the guy in his post. I wonder why he stopped posting. All of a sudden, but he insisted he was a collector. He insisted he didn't care about the money. He's like, fair enough. I guess you don't, because you should have sold it off while it was almost $3 or $4 million or whatever it was at its apex.
Yeah, I mean, I look back and I had a lot of fun, and we don't ever like sit on wax. Sealed wax doesn't last in this household. Um, but when I seen what 2018-19 Prism cello boxes got to, that was kind of gut wrenching in itself. I think they peaked at somewhere around 5,000 a box. Might have been 7,000. I can't remember. Um, we were buying them for 120 a box, and they were selling for several thousand a box. So that kind of stung a little bit. I mean, I did good on what we pulled out and everything, but it was like we were probably at $80,000 to $100,000 if we had just kept them and sold them. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucked.
Well, that was not to the same degree, but that's what happened with those Prism boxes. I think once I sold off, because each guy with 2018 Prism and the football product, there were certain guys that had their moment in the sun. Sam Darnold had a brief cup of coffee. I think he had a Monday Night Football game where he was decent for the Jets. So for a moment there, he was good. Baker had a moment. Lamar obviously had a moment. Josh Allen now is the guy out of that one. The problem is I pulled too many Josh Rosen and not enough Josh Allen. I kept getting the wrong Josh over and over again. That was a problem I had. But even still,
So
I was
this
able to
is
sell
one
off the
of
contents.
this
You
is
ever
one of
tried?
the moments that I was proud of. I told him I had been buying Gary Trent. I believe Stoudemire was out and Trent was getting some playing time. Looked
Mhm.
pretty good, and I was like, I told him, Guns, buy some Gary Trent cards. And so he did. He bought some, and he ended up making damn good money off of them. So that was one I was proud of, helping somebody out.
Yeah.
Now, I did not do top 5 going up. I did not do it as in a video. This was a private conversation telling him who I thought was a good buy.
That's just pure disappointment right there. Sugar-free banana pudding recipe is disappointing. Terrible.
Why is she telling me that now? She tried, so we are trying to eat healthy and all of that good stuff. There was a lot of food out there, I have to say, that is very delicious, but it is all a project and you have to test it. She tried making some like a banana pudding pie thing. I have not tried it, but apparently, according to that, I'm not going to get to. So,
Apparently not. Yeah.
uh,
But yeah, I was
uh,
gonna say is for a lot of them, it was timing, because at the time, like I said, none of us had We'll have fun. That's the reason why I gave such a hard time for that card documentary thing. I go, it's not the right time. We need a little bit of distance in order to properly evaluate this time period, because it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it when we see the other side. You asked the question about 2023. It could very well be really problematic for a lot of those businesses that start off in the hobby and ran out of cash. And then as they go out of business and then they have their own challenges, it is going to drive some more people out of it and drive some more money out of it. And that is going to readjust prices. But during the run up, it was like I said, we had those examples of all that crazy stuff. I just laughed because I sat back and I did okay on a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I could have sold more stuff. I had other stuff I could have, or some stuff. Some stuff that makes me mad, like I had two Griffey. I sorry, not two Griffey. Two Gretzky rookies sitting around, and I always make the joke about how worthless Gretzky
only
rookies
two?
are. And yeah, well, I actively avoided them. So the fact that I even have two it was embarrassing to me. I wanted to get rid of that garbage. Overrated trash player. But anyway, so I had two of the Gretzky Opeachy rookies, and I did sell them, and I sold them for a pretty tidy profit. But then all of a sudden in the boom, they were like the I had one that was really beat up, but those were over 1,000 easily, and then the other one was
Hmm.
about a 3 or 4. So that was about 3 or 4 or 5 grand at the Apex. I'm like, really? You worthless bastards! I think I paid like $400 for the pair, like
I
at most.
I don't even know what the Gretzky's are at today. I have a tops FCC
More
4.5.
than they were when I bought them, but less than they were when they were at their apex.
Well, I paid 289 for mine, so I'm sure it's likely more than that.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that we've talked about at Ovechkin, right? The guy is, when he hits 800 and then obviously 802 and then approaches Gretzky, I know in my mind, yeah, he's likely never going to be higher right now or in the near future, distant future, who knows? But I know that there's a chance I could sell and then possibly rebuy. I just hate playing, like, I've never been able to play that game unless it's something that I am just 100% okay with letting go of. Like when I sold my Jordan rookie, I that hit 8,000 and I was like, no, I bought this because I really wanted the card. And then I was like, but I don't see it sustaining. Let me just keep eye on things. And then it started slowly creeping back down. And finally I was like, okay, let me go ahead and take advantage of it because it's probably going to come back down to where I got it at. And so I went ahead and let it go. I let it go at 4,800, but I was only into it at 2,200. So I still over 2x, my money. I doubled my money, but I could have very easily turned 22 into 8,000, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to let it go. So I do struggle with that at times, um,
Oh,
and that
I
probably
think
kicks
that's
my
you're
butt
talking about the
sometimes.
collector's lament. I just found it that's part of the reason why a lot of the videos I do kind of take the tack they do is that I'm not precious with a lot of this stuff. There is some stuff that I really like. There's some stuff that I enjoy, but I you mentioned he mentioned the Jim Brown rookie. I bought a Jim Brown rookie at one of the expos. I got the damn thing for about $100, and then at its apex, it was not a bad copy actually. It was pretty decent. I don't know what it would grade it out at, but I think I sold it for like 400 or 500 before the boom. I was like all this stuff. Like, why didn't y'all tell me you were gonna lose your collective minds, and I would have held on to the Jim Brown rookie and the Gretzky, and I would have sold it to you after. Just say the
Right.
word. You just needed to tell me, and I would have held them. I didn't even
Can
need the stupid Jim Brown rookie. I don't even care about it. And in the end, I
can
sold it
you
for a profit, but I didn't need it. I just bought it.
can you explain for Guns and
Yeah.
anybody else if they're interested where the documentary thing is, the
Well, right
app?
now you'd have to
I've never
buy.
watched it, so
The thing is, you'd have to go to right now. As far as I'm aware, the only streaming platform that has it is Apple TV, and you'd have to pay about $5 or $6 for it. And I honestly recommend against it. If somebody, I'm never going to tell anybody to pirate a film. I'm not going to tell them to do that. But but like, it's not worth $5 or $6. Is all I'm saying. I did it just because I knew that I would be one of the first to watch it, and I knew I was going to make a video about it. So I said, all right, fine, I'll bite the bullet. And in the end, I got my money back. So I can't complain. I got my money back and then some. So between the two videos, I made my
That
money back and then some.
actually that made a lot of sense for you to do because I know your channel, essentially kind of started on doing movie reviews and stuff.
Yeah, it was in my wheelhouse. It wasn't a crazy thing for me to do.
Yeah. So
But I honestly
Carlisle
wouldn't
said
recommend. Yeah, I
he
honestly
said
wouldn't
he's
pay
holding
anybody
out for
to.
the sequel. I mean,
Yeah,
I did a sequel on lives tonight, guys.
yeah, I would never tell anybody to pay money for it. Even as hard as the director tried, and he tried to sell it to be, oh, you'll be entertained. It's like you're the director. You're the last person who needs to tell me I'm going to be entertained. And he tried to use the argument. It's like, well, Carlos laughed. You damn right I laughed. I laughed the same way I laugh at a car crash. I laughed the same way I would laugh if I was watching the Hindenburg go down. That's the way I laughed. That's probably not what you were shooting for, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, oh, you can show it to your family. Doesn't know a car. I wouldn't show my family this shit. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
So some of the I'll say this, like when you told me some about it, like the people that were in it, that was enough for me. Like I could see it being in a comedic nature, but most everybody that you said was in it aren't people that I follow or keep up with in the hobby, even
No.
in their free stuff. Like the free videos or whatever they put out on YouTube. I
Yeah.
don't pay attention to them much.
Yeah.
So to pay for a movie and then to hear that it was essentially 2 years too late, uh, it didn't make any sense to me outside of to laugh at it
Yeah.
in a comedic manner.
Well, it's 2 years.
Um,
It's basically 2 years too late or 10 years too early. Because if you were to pitch me this in 2032 or 2027, 2028, we're past the period, we're past the immediate aftermath, and whatever
you're
economic
talking about what
recovery is in progress.
happened.
Yeah, but if we're past the point, we're past the economic recovery point, and we've gotten a chance to see where the dust has settled in the aftermath. Now you have a documentary because we can do just before, you can compare to what happened during that run, that period, and then you have the immediate aftermath. This company went out of business. This person went into this. You can actually do an epilogue. You can give like a whole
Right.
explanation with what happened to these people. Ken Golden made this special. No one watched. No one cared. But you can do all this stuff, and you can
Is that
actually.
out yet?
No, that's the point. Like he'll be too late too. But the point is, like, you could have included that in the documentary if you waited 5 more years. If you wait 5 more years, you could include that and explain whether it worked out or not. We would know
Man.
so much. You could say Panini maybe finally bought, Panini maybe finally got bought out by Fanatics by that point. Like all kinds of stuff could have happened that would be extremely relevant in a documentary if you actually wanted to capture the time period, because the seeds were being sown right now, but you don't have that. You can't have it because of the time you released it. So I'm like, so this is literally worthless for every aspect of it. And even the one-on-one part, like, oh, this is card 101. Cool. We can get that on YouTube. And his argument was, my favorite part was his argument was, well, not everybody watches YouTube, but you're going on every YouTube channel you can find to promote the movie. If no one's watching YouTube, why are you promoting it on YouTube?
Yeah, I haven't like I've seen the comments and stuff like that you shared, and the conversations about the movie.
And he blocked me. I didn't even get a chance to reply.
I I don't have any interest in it because although cards are, I guess, kind of a hybrid thing for me, I do have what would have to be considered as a business with, you know, the group submissions.
While
I
we're
also
talking, can you
do
just put Chad's comment on there? I think it's perfect. I think it encapsulates this perfectly.
which one?
Just
This
CNC
one?
Collectibles, the one above it.
The one above it?
Yeah, there is a "This is my Monday night." Yes,
Oh,
perfect.
I had
Please
already
continue.
put that up.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Sorry, I missed it. I still think this is a good one. Please continue.
yeah. Um, what was? Oh, like I do the hobby side for fun,
Hmm.
and
Right.
then there's also a business aspect to things I do within the hobby. I thought at first when I started it all that it would be difficult juggling and balancing. I've actually done pretty well, but it took me time to accept the jump into it.
Hmm.
And I made the stipulation that I had to be able to still enjoy cards as a hobby, that I didn't just, because they always say, if you make it work, you begin to hate it. And I didn't want to hate cards. I didn't want a hobby that I grew up with, that I've always loved and everything. And so I had to find a way to make sure that I kept that at balance. Um, so when people like, and I'm not going to specify any particulars because there's so many of them out there, but a lot of the people that are really popular and do a lot of the content that gets a lot of focus and everything, um, in the investor aspect realm of it, I don't really care about that. I guess it's kind of the same way where I understand if people want to use PSA for the resale value, but me personally, I can do things differently and still be successful on it. I don't need that PSA resale value. So I just kind of don't pay attention to that noise that comes out of that crowd on the investor side of it. And it sounded like that was a lot of the people that were in the movie, the investor or the influencer crowd, that source is what sounded like most was in that movie. So it just wasn't like, oh my God, Carlos, it was, all these people in there. Let's StreamYard and watch it together, which that would have been a hell of a show.
Yeah, but I strictly avoided trying to put anything in there that would have any copyright issues. I was just like, no, I'll cover what I'll show a couple of stills.
I didn't say we had to go live.
Yeah. No, but yeah, we could definitely get a crowd. We could definitely have had a crowd that would have that I think would have enjoyed it. It would have been Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. But the thing is that when it came to a lot of the people in it, like the Steve Aoki thing was like the perfect example. I don't have any issue with Steve Aoki. I also don't care about Steve Aoki.
I forgot he was in it, but he's like one of the main people, right?
Yeah, he's literally on the poster. So the thing is,
yeah.
So the thing is, I don't have any issue with Steve Aoki, but I also don't care about Steve Aoki. But in his origin story, he explained it very succinctly. He explained that one of his buddies told him, I was like, oh, hey, I bought this card for this amount. And his response was, cards don't sell for that. The cards aren't worth that much. And then he got into it, and then he got interested. He just flat out told you it was the value that made it interesting for him. Whatever he says after that is you can automatically discount. It's like, dude, the only reason you cared was because oh, wait, cards sell for real money? Oh, wait, hold on. Now I'm paying attention. That was it.
Does anybody know if, because again, I know who he is and I know a little bit about his hobby connection style. I know he's big in the TCG side.
Yeah.
He has his own flip with PSA. The Aoki collection.
Yeah, like a Provenance flip, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does he actually collect, though, or is it... Because I seen, like, one of the PSA 10 Jordans with his name on it went up for sale. Like, so does anybody know if he actually collects, or is he just more with the... What is it? Aoki Card House or something like that? Is his eBay? Is he
here's a question I would give you. This is more of a philosophical question. What does collecting mean? If I buy a bunch of cards, I hang on to them. But if you came by and offered me the right price, I would get rid of them right now. Am I a collector or not? And if the fact that I understand that there's value, and that was part of the reason I even got into this, if that was the initial, if that was literally the first thing, because as a kid, he did collect a little bit. That's the point.
I would have to say that does condone collecting, only because you said if somebody came by and offered you the right price. Mm-hmm. You didn't say that he was actively putting it out there, fielding offers.
Yeah. I genuinely don't know if he is or he isn't, but it's one of those things where I know you could get the cards off of him. I'm confident of that. But it's one of those things, I'm sure he sells some cards and buys some cards, but the financial aspect of it is an element that was of interest to him. It's not like even necessarily money he needs, because he has money. It's not that he doesn't have money, but it became more interesting. Again, another example. Rob G. Is Rob G a collector? Rob G paid $5.2 million for a PSA 9 Mickey Mantle. And prior to that, he had bought a bunch of other copies of the Mickey Mantle. He saw an opportunity to buy the $5.2 million. So he bought it, yes. But then he also promoted the hell out of the fact he bought it. He kind of liked the fact that he was the owner of a $5.2 million card, which for a moment in time was one of the higher priced cards ever.
Right.
So is it that he's a collector? Or is it that he enjoys the prestige? Is it a little bit of both? It could be a little bit of both. But here's the question. Is he interested in just hanging on to it forever? Or is he also interested in, well, if down the road, these mantles continue to go up, eventually it becomes a $10 million card, a $20 million card. If the other one becomes a $50 million card or $100 million down the road, that SGC 9.5 gets put up again. It sells for $35 million. PSA 10 sells for $100 million. To the moon.
That would be crazy times. I'm sure
But
we'll see it eventually, but that's
but
going to
that's the
be some
question. So
crazy
is he a
times.
collector or not? But that's the thing. Like I can't answer that for you. I don't know the answer to. I guess it would depend on what you believe. For me, I just look at it from the perspective of if the whole point of you getting into it, if you were just bored and you saw value in it, I struggled to see it as a collection. Could you still collect? Of course you can. Yeah, of course. I feel like collecting requires some kind of curation. For me, I kind of introduced the element of curation into it. I feel like there has to be a little bit of a discerning eye. It can't just you being like, oh, this is a really expensive card. Oh, it's in the highest grade. I should buy that. Well, that not really very discerning. That's kind of pretty basic, but I guess you could do that if you have enough money, I
I
suppose.
would see that more as an investor, I guess.
Yeah, but even if you don't necessarily have an immediate plan to sell it, you are with an eye to the potential resale down the road. You've at least got that in the back of your mind. That's why I kind of poke fun at some of the collectors. Now, I've always said that if Nat Turner did get bonked on the head and he comes by and goes, Carlos, I'll give you $2 million for all your Medano cards, thinking I wouldn't sell them. It's like, you're damn right I'd sell them.
Oh yeah, I
That's enough money. It's like,
mean,
dude, yeah, I'll fly him to you. Don't even worry about it. It's like, but it's like you spent all those years, dude. For $2 million, I got a lot of stuff I can do. All right, you can have it. Don't
well,
even worry
that's
about it.
like so. Somebody reached out to me, but they, I had them email me or whatever. But it's like the Robertson Green PMG and all of the fun talking about pumping Jace Robertson or whatever. I love the Green PMG. But if the price, like if somebody offered the right price to where I could move out of that into a couple other things, I could enjoy those cards as well, right? So there's not this, it's to the grave. That if opportunity arose and I could move out of that for other, let's say I could get a Future Watch and still have some left over. That would be tempting because the Future Watch is a key cog in hockey for a player's rookie.
Mhm.
And so then I would have a key piece. I have two red PMGs, so it's not like, I would be without a PMG. Um, and then could possibly turn whatever was left over into maybe another piece. According to what I'm hearing, what was the estimates? 15, 20,000, somebody said, for what they think the cup RPA. That'll never be in my collection.
Yeah, well,
Um,
that was like a pure guess. We kind of have to extrapolate based on what normally Future Watch does versus Cup RPA. And right now, since the Future Watch is so high, I think that's where that guess comes from. And it's like right now it's every sale is breaking a record. The entire
yeah.
hobby isn't down. It's like it's down unless you're collecting J Robs.
Yeah, I can't do that much. I'll have to get me a what are they, NFTs? I'll have to like make Photoshop me up one, make it real nice. Like, I might even be able to fit it in a slab or something.
If you can
And
Photoshop a few Bougie Erics, you can make some NFTs out of that and see if you could sell enough of them.
hey, I have fun with it, man. I hope Eric does too. He's probably in bed now.
Well, right now he's just appreciating that we're all honoring his legal name. He is Bougie Eric. I just thought I would
Right. I
share that with you
even
guys.
I
So you know.
even named this. It was all Bougie Eric's
That's
fault.
right, exactly. That's his legal given name. Mrs. Wade appreciates that you all acknowledge his full name. I don't know why he leaves out the bougie. He just tells everybody he's Eric. I think that's a lie. I do
Is it
appreciate. Go ahead.
no, that's mean. I can't say that.
Well, there you go.
I
You
was gonna
see,
say,
I always
does he
regret
does
not
he
saying
not
the
know
mean
how to
thing.
spell bougie?
I was going to say. I was going to say that I appreciate Chad's invocation of shot and fraud. He is correct. Yeah. So for cat and card collectors, back pages of the movie, no, they're absolutely not. The only people that are in the movie are sports card investor, comeback card investor, guys like Rob G, Steve Aoki. I think the got baseball cards guy, Leighton Sports Cards, a bunch of other folks that are kind of in that vein.
Oh, while we're talking about these guys,
Mm-hmm.
there was a post shared, and then I went on and looked and seen that there was also a video shared by our lovely novice, everybody's favorite Tops
Mm-hmm.
of Mr. People have had problems with Daps Man.
Oh, dude, good old Dapsman. Yes. Okay.
It almost looks like Topps is using a connection partnership with Daps. Any thoughts on that? Like how?
First of all, I'm hoping. All I want them to do is I just want someone to call him Dapsman officially in one of these platforms, so that I can immediately take credit and sue for intellectual property because I named him Dapsman and I have the video proof. I can prove it. As far as I'm aware, I'm the first person to ever call him Dapsman. That's mine. I own that.
Well, I thought, isn't that his? What is his channel? Is
He's
that
Dap
Dap?
Sports. It's Dap Sports.
Oh,
I'm the one who
Dap
dubbed him
Sports.
Dapsman.
Okay.
I'm the one who dubbed him Dapsman. But you see how pervasive it is? Dapsman rolls off the tongue, man. But I want them to do it officially so I can sue their ass. That's what I want. That's the first thing. Secondly, at this point in time, you're basically taking anybody who has any kind of platform, and like SGC is, we joke about it, but SGC has Dustin promoting stuff for them. Comsi has Dustin promoting stuff for them. Neo had the sponsorship with MySlabs going on for a while.
They haven't. I haven't noticed anybody, like, I guess they got enough marketing out there that they're not using anybody anymore. Because I haven't heard anybody.
For the most part,
mention
where would the marketing budget come in? Right now, things are slowed down. Why would you throw more money in?
I guess that's true.
Once
They were
you've
just
consumed
pretty
your marketing
heavy
budget, that'd be it.
advertising. Like, a lot of people were mentioning them for a while.
Yeah. So once you've done it at this stage, I wouldn't go any further. Like I wouldn't throw any more marketing dollars into it. So you'd have to have a damn good reason. Like the SGC Topps partnership made sense because they just released that product. It is a way to maybe encourage people to open some more and send some in for grading. It's kind of a mutually beneficial thing for both parties. I could see that.
Right.
And if they're getting Dapsman, who represents a guy who is in the flipping side of things, trying to promote that as well, that at least makes sense. You're not going out left field. You're probably not going to get a grizzly old collector to do that promotion because it's probably not going to sell. So that'd be
I
kind of
did
the way
find it funny. They're throwing shade at each other because PSA put this up 7 hours ago. Since its release, Top Prospect Parallel Chase hits in 2022 Bowman Chrome continue to come through our facilities. 2 more.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, well, let's share the ones we're getting. I did notice that earlier.
Well, we're back to the conversation from earlier. If it is one of the higher end ones, the more top dollar ones, I guess it depends on what the PSA 10 would go for, theoretically. Because at the bulk rate, $9 versus 18, yes, you're saving the 9. But right now, their folks are sending it in, like for the bulk grouping, it makes more sense.
Well, like, so let's take out value.
Mhm.
Okay, let's take out the value and throw it
Well, then
aside.
then I'm going at CSG.
Well, no, I want to
Okay.
show something on this one.
Okay.
This is a card that makes sense to send to PSA
Right.
because not because it's the red, not because it's house, not because of the value, but you can tell it's off-centered.
Mhm.
Your chances were higher of getting the 10 with PSA. You weren't getting a 10 in this with SGC.
Mhm.
So this is a case scenario where you try it with PSA. What's the worst case? You get the 9, okay. Then you're at,
Okay, just out
potentially
of
same
curiosity,
value.
am I wrong on this? Did that sports card community person post on both of those?
What's that?
So you see on the post itself, the comment there at the top. Did that person
Yeah.
post on both of them?
It just shows.
Oh,
the
okay, so it's
photo.
on the one post. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This
now I
is the
got it.
same post, just the 2 cards.
I always laugh because occasionally on Instagram I'll see the same people post. Like they'll literally seek out. It kind of plays into my last video. They'll seek out like posts to be like, it doesn't matter what, as long as this topic is referenced, I am going to make a comment on it, no matter what.
I didn't even notice. So they mentioned the Brady house
Mhm.
up and down center. I didn't even notice that that's what their comment was. I was looking at the cards earlier. Obviously,
Oh, Bubbles,
I had,
my eye goes to the comment section because I see things. I see so many
I
things.
seen the Brady house because I was disappointed he never had a first Bowman auto. I got him to sign one at Fredericksburg this year for me, a refractor, but I noticed they had posted that up, and then I was looking at the card, and I was like, oh, well, it was off centered, so it makes sense sending to there anyway. But yeah, I thought the post was funny because they're kind of like throwing shade at each other. What you
Well,
can
they
do, I
should.
can
Like,
do.
I don't mind them doing it. Although, like in both cases, I would probably focus more on actually executing, because it's one of those things where SGC has done. It's you got when you and Mike were talking about earlier tonight. I've said it every time. SGC has done a tremendously good job with a ton of their stuff, and their amount of submissions have not really changed. So it's like that's why I make the joke with you. It's like make it 1 hour grading, make it $3 a card, have Peter personally hand do it with a velvet, with a velvet bag. Maybe I'll think about it,
At
but
the
otherwise I
same
don't care.
time, I think FCC would like to get more, but I think they're also comfortable that they've moved up. I mean, this time 3 years ago, how many were they doing?
No, I understand,
Let's be honest, not
you're
much.
running a business. Your job is to try there. If you know that people will submit 1 million cards in a month, then you want at least a bigger piece of that. Even if you don't get all the way up to it, you can take more of it. At the end of the day, it's still a business. If for whatever reason, profits fell by 45% in the next quarter, the owner will be like, "Well, Peter, you're a great guy. You're fired. I want somebody who will make me money." The owner, there's still an owner there. His goal is to
Yeah,
make money. It's still a business. That's the thing. Like all the great things they're doing, the customer service and everything, it is working and it is helping build the brand equity. But if tomorrow submissions suddenly fell by half, even with the great customer service, even with the pricing, even with everything else, then it doesn't matter. The goal here is to make money. Then we fire people.
there is a question that and I know y'all joke with me, and obviously you would think for as much as we do and everything that there is more contact there. Um, I don't really ever talk to Peter. In fact, I messaged him on Instagram once, showing him the thumbnail I did of him looking like Ash from Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I sent that to him just so he was aware that I did it. Um, but outside of that, I talked to him at the National for a little bit. Prior to the National of 2022, I had not spoken to him since, like, what was it, April of 2021, April of 2021, when he shot the prices of grading way up because they were worried about getting too much in or whatever, and he moved bulk subs to $50 a card, and I told them I was done. I wasn't going to try charging that, and he called me to let me know, hey, I don't plan to keep it at this. I'm just doing this right now. Once I figure out, where demand's going to be, we'll adjust it accordingly. So that was early 2021. I hadn't talked to him since the National. And then since the National, I've only messaged him about a thumbnail I made on Instagram. So I don't talk to him that much. But there's a question that I've been curious of, because he's the CEO
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
he's done a damn good job. But it feels like he does a lot of the marketing. And I don't know if that is because he wants to have his face out there more or what, but I just wonder if they couldn't push the envelope a little bit further, if there was a marketing team. And maybe there is, and I just don't know about it. That's why I said I would like to talk to him. But if he did like the CEO duties of it, and then there was a marketing team, and they were like, okay, roll this out. Because from what I hear, a lot of the stuff that actually happens, he's the inner workings of it. He's like putting it into place. It's his thoughts, this, that. I just wonder if they had like a team working on that kind of stuff, and he just was like the one to present it. Um, if they could get, even further, pushing further things along. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm
Well,
wrong. But
the thing though is what you're asking. You're asking a business case. What you're doing is that he is the CEO, but they have scaled up the business a lot. But a lot of the business was scaling up the infrastructure side of it. They needed graders. They needed people to pack and ship items. They needed people to process. They needed people in the research department. They needed all those things. They needed to ramp up. They needed to move to another building. They did that as well. That was part of their process. I think they moved to another building, and then I think they're moving to another building because they ran out of space or something. There was at least one
no,
move, if not two.
no, they were able to expand in the building they were in originally. Um, some of the office spaces opened up, so they expanded within the building that they were in by acquiring other pieces of the office building. Then they got what they told me they called it as a remote location. So then they had kind of a secondary facility. They were working between two facilities. Now, from what I understand, they're actually going to be moving, I guess, in 2023 into a actual larger
Okay, so it's a
facility.
future move. I knew there was like a second
Yeah,
move being discussed or some element of it.
yeah.
So the
I
thing
guess
is,
it's
think about all of those things. All of that. It's not like snap your fingers. All right, everybody, grab a box. Let's walk outside and take it to the truck. That's not how a move like that works. And also,
right.
theoretically, you're still running the company. Theoretically, the company should still be received. Somebody's got to receive. Somebody's got to grade. You can't just shut down necessarily while you're doing that. So that's kind of the thing that you're looking at. I'm wondering if the budget just isn't there to have a separate marketing team because they were going to do a podcast, haven't done it. They wanted to do it, then they weren't able to make that work. They did a really nice fancy video not long ago where they showed some behind the scenes stuff, but I think that's the only video we've seen out of them. So it's one of those things like they'll stop and start certain things that are kind of still
Right.
going down that marketing path. And now they started doing they got influencer marketing happening. They got the deal, whatever the arrangement is with Tops. So it's not like they're not doing stuff, but they're trying like 5 different buckets and categories of like marketing all at the same time.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like all of these things that I've heard from, I've always been told that was Pete, that was Pete, that was Pete. So it's like I don't know that there's actually a marketing team there, or if this is just Peter's like working things out, trying to put it all together. And um, but like you said, with moving and everything, that was something that people didn't recognize when they got behind it during the pandemic. He wanted to expand. He wanted to like add employees so they didn't get behind, but he didn't have the space to. And then he had to wait for building space to open up so he could get a lease to then expand the employees because due to the space restrictions, he couldn't hire new people. So it was a very difficult process, and he couldn't just, say, okay, fine, we're up and moving, because then everybody would be shipping their orders to the one facility, and it was just a big mess, bad time in the world. So, but they got through it, and that was pretty impressive. But anyway, man, it is 11, and I know I could sit here and talk all night. You know that, but
I've
it's a
heard this
Monday
one.
night. The missus has to get to bed and get up so she can go to work tomorrow. So I'm going to have to cut it.
I've been doing work evasion because I have to actually go into the office in the morning. I'm not looking forward to it.
Oh, so you're trying to stay up too. I got you.
Oh, I've been evading
But
it. Like I know that actually got the laptop on. It's on the other screen. I'm like, I have to look at it. Anyway, no, pleasure talking to you. I thought I'd pop in and at least say, I had to follow Mike Baseball Collector, at least. And
hey,
besides,
yeah, I
for part
mean,
2, we had to include something in there for everybody.
for not posting anything until like what was it, 40 minutes before I was even going to go live, and then it being a Monday and there's Monday Night Football on, and then the crash, the computer locking up, the technical difficulties, all of that, having to go to
You
the
can
second
say it.
half.
Bougie Eric sabotaged you. I know. I know what
Yeah, I
happened.
mean, it's actually been pretty cool. So I do appreciate y'all. It's been a long time since I've been live. Other folks, if anybody out there, again, if you ever want to, I don't care if you have a channel or not. If you want to get on and talk to hobby cards, whatever, uh, find like however you have access, whether it's email, Instagram, Facebook, my phone number, whatever, shoot me a message and let me know. And you know, I need to get back into doing this because I do enjoy getting on and talking with everybody. Um, and I love having people on. So, but thank you, Carlos. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to everybody that put up with the nonsense of the crashing and having to do 2 different ones. We actually accomplished like 3 hours. That's pretty impressive too for me. So, um,
There you
but
go.
I do appreciate all of you. Hope you have a wonderful Monday night. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next video, I'm out.